every 10 or 15 years, a film is produced that is so overwhelming, so forceful in its impact, that it becomes deeply embedded in the mind.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
Appreciate your choosing our theater. And to make this experience more enjoyable for everyone, we hope you'll refrain from talking during the show. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
What? Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Tuesday.
I'm off
at least
today.
you push the right buttons.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay,
Your day's all fucked up, but you got the right buttons, so that's good.
Know, they all mesh together. So you're watching Still Toking with. My name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a kick-ass show for you, as always. And with us is Sir Benjamin.
I'm just glad that, you didn't scare the guest away when you said Tuesday, and he went, oh, shit, wrong night. I got to go, So, no, I'm super psyched about this show, man. We were supposed to have the show last month, and, Fred was getting pizza instead of being on the show. So, I mean, I just don't know, man. I don't know what happened. But,
hey,
no.
Pizza rules, man. Pizza takes precedence. Don't you know that?
Over us, yeah. I would take pizza over us, too.
Hey, I'd take a freaking chicken roll over us. No.
Is that what Jeffrey, is that what you having tonight, chicken rolls?
I have no idea what we're having tonight.
Okay.
He'll find out when we finish the show, and he runs off and has his dinner.
Right? Sometimes I just don't know. I pretty much eat anything. Careful. I'm looking forward to this show. I was looking forward to it a few weeks ago too, but I was let down, unfortunately. But here we are. Let's bring him in. Let's welcome James Duval.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm going to blame it on this. So I got a problem. Or shall I say I don't have a problem anymore.
Right?
That was great.
Leo, Ben, Jeff, thank you again for having me, guys. It's great to be here. And let me apologize to you and to everybody out there for the last couple of weeks. It was a bit of a stoner thing. Without having my alarm set, it did went in one ear and out with a puff of smoke.
Hey, you know what? Those things happen. I'm just shocked that Ben and Jeff are still razzing you about it.
You're totally forgiven, especially if it was a stoner move.
Right?
I'm just saying.
I love it.
Did he freeze on us?
I think he froze. So while we wait for him to pop on back, just a little heads up. James is going to be at the Houston Horror Film Festival. And I read that. There we go. So you're going to be in suit in Houston.
Yeah. Not the suit that I wore in the movie, but I'm curious to see which suit they brought for me. They were able to get a copy of the suit.
Just hope it's not latex.
Trivia news for you guys. I mean, I haven't actually posted it yet, partly because I'm just so horrible at social media. But coincidentally, it turns out that my friend Jack owned the suit that I wore in Donnie Darko and just donated it to the Academy Museum of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
Oh, no way.
Nice.
So that is my suit, everybody, the screen-worn suit and mask. The only reason it looks taller is because it's standing on a plexiglass base. But that will be available for everyone to see at the Academy Museum of Science and Arts, Motion Picture Science and Arts in Beverly Hills. I believe it's starting in the next month or two. And I'm not sure how long the exhibit will be there, but I do know that we're replacing Spielberg's E.T. So kind of a big thing, I think, for me anyway.
Wow.
We got something better, something meatier.
Wow. And we've interviewed some of these people. Like we had Dee Wallace on. I'm gonna have to see if he's okay with that.
Yeah, she's just in a movie I just finished. I mean, we didn't have scenes together, but she was just in a movie that I just finished, The Legend of Cat Claw's Mountain. Like this sort of kids, Goonies, like Goonies, but instead of a pirate treasure, it's treasure they're looking for in the mountains.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice adventure movie.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll be out sometime. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be out sometime next year. Sometimes I'll just pop up these movies that I just did, only because I'm fortunate enough to work, and I am a bit of a whore. I work for money, so I'll take one.
Right. I will say that
I'm good at it.
Right.
I will say, did I think you're going to be one of my new best friends, seeing how we were both born in September of 1972.
Great year. Is a great
Right?
month. Great year in 72.
Right? I mean, you're a couple of days older than me, but not much. So I was reading that earlier.
I like to say that where we're at is it's the new 30s. I won't say any more than that, but we're in the new 30s.
The new 30s, yeah. Well, I feel like I'm in the old 70s.
I was going to say, what the hell does that put me?
That just makes you old as dirt. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I forget about that sometimes when I'm out and, I bring things up with people. I'm like, oh, yeah, when I did that back in 97 when you were 1. Never mind.
Right? Right? Well, yeah. I mean, literally, you got your start, if my notes are correct, in what, 93?
Well, the movie came out in 93, but I actually ended up doing my first movie in 91.
Was it 91?
And back then, it wasn't digital. We were shooting on 16 millimeter, and the director who was financing it himself had to edit on a moviola, splice the film by hand. So I remember even after we shot the film 6 months later, half the movie had still yet to be printed onto a negative so he could cut it. So it needless to say, probably took another year. We filmed it in 91, probably finished editing it in the end of 92, and then it finally came out in 93. So it was very cool. When I started making movies, it was a long process between filming it and then it coming out until Independence Day. And then all of a sudden you film that, and then 9 months later it's in the movie theaters.
Right. One of your greatest achievements, Independence Day.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that movie. I still remember reading, because I don't know if you're familiar with the story. I had met Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin as their waiter. That's how I met. Oh yeah, they came into my restaurant, and I remember they had the restaurant were big supporters of mine, so they put a movie that I had done that played at the Sundance Film Festival that hadn't been released yet. And I remember she came in at the time. She's this French woman, full of like energy and pizzazz. Jimmy, we have these two big American directors. They come to you, give you the table, and you can talk to them. Like, Jackie, listen, I'm not here to smooth with the customers. And now I'm a waiter. So the only thing I'm concerned about is being the best waiter you got on the floor. Even though I'm not the best waiter on the floor, that's my only concern. Honestly, it's sort of coming from a really, hard blue collar working class background. Just you always do your best. Right. And so I remember going up and, can I take your order? And then he's just, they say, hey, you were in that movie on the door. And it was sort of, yeah, that's strange that you know that considering that movie hasn't come out yet, and they'd just done Star. And they told me, well, we just, we're at Sundance and we actually saw your movie at Sundance and thought you were great. And, are you still acting? It's just sort of, it was that, the Hollywood cliche. And I remember literally at the time, like, well, yeah, can I take your order? Yeah, it doesn't get any more stereotypical than that. Right. And, they laughed and, we kind of had a good laugh and sort of, became friendly. And, over the course, you came back a couple times over the course of the, December. And, finally came up. So are you, working on anything else? I'm like, well, I'm actually doing another movie, with the same director that we finished. That's going to play at Sundance again next month. He's like, all right, well, maybe I'll see you there. And that movie ended up being this movie that I did with Rose McGowan called The Doom Generation, which is this insanely crazy movie. So I hadn't seen it at the time. And I remember watching it at the theater and going, well, I don't think that this is going to go. Like, I'm very proud of it, but it wasn't the kind of thing where, I thought studio movies would open their arms to actors like myself. So I remember walking down to do the Q&A and Roland turned and looked at me and he was there. And he sort of tapped at me, looked at me and he goes, Jimmy, oh my God, whoa, that movie, whoa. And all I thought was like, well, there goes that job. So you go and do the Q&A and then go back. And I didn't see him again. And then go back to LA from Sundance Film Festival in parts of Utah and waitering. And all of a sudden, Dean and Roland are not coming back into the restaurant anymore. So I'm sure like, oh, well, this is par for the course. I knew that I was making this sort of crazy movie that was going to push the boundaries, that possibly get banned or censored. But sure enough, 3 weeks later, in come Roland and Dean. We were just in Mexico after Sundance and we decided to write. We came up with this great idea. called Independence Day about these spaceships coming. And actually, we were talking about it, and you'd be great for a part. Are you busy this summer? And that's how it unfolded for me.
Wow.
I mean, I still had to audition for the part, and because I was shooting another movie with the director of Doom Generation called Nowhere, I almost lost out. And both directors who, you know, very fortunately for me, very good luck on my side, decided that they both wanted me to be not only in their movies, but in the other, like the studio director liked that I was in this little crazy indie movie. And the indie director liked that I was going to be in this really huge studio movie. So they actually ended up working it out. So I would film one week in LA, take my earrings out, change the part, get on a plane, shoot for a week in Utah on Independence Day, change the part, put the earrings back and come back to LA, film in LA. And I did that subsequently for about a month. And then I wrapped the movie in LA, and then everything from Utah moved to the stages in LA. And then I finished Independence Day in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So is Randy Quaid as crazy as he appears to be?
Not at all, actually. That's
I was wondering about that.
It's almost like he became his character.
Okay.
He became he became
I was about to say, because he's done some YouTube videos that like he is like out there.
Yeah, you know, with his YouTube videos, I was like, well, he didn't used to be like that. He just used to pretend to be like that. You know, so I remember when I loved working with him. He was like a great guy. And, you know, my experience, I've only had the best memories with him. From working with him, like, Randy, do you have any great, advice for young up and coming actors? Like, kid, work as much as you can, take whatever they give you.
Right.
So what would you do as an actor? You know what? I'm like, what? Anything you would recommend? I read a lot of Neil Simon. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's Neil Simon.
Yeah.
Leave it to me that I ended up writing a script and that got made. It didn't end up working out, but I wrote this script about 10 years ago, and one of the funny, coincidental critique I got on it was like, if Neil Simon had written Leaving Las Vegas. So there's the Neil Simon in there somewhere, carried over 20 years later. But that being said, he was just a really great guy. I'd see him after work. We were shooting in Wendover on the border of Utah and Nevada. So you finish shooting in the desert and you were staying in these casinos, and Randy would just be playing craps. And then when you go back the next day, he had this book on like 10 best ways to learn how to beat craps. And he was just like determined he was going to win some money before we left Utah because we were on the border of Nevada. And I thought he was I actually thought he was really personable and really friendly and really, he was a really great guy. So even to the point where I didn't see him for about a year, and then we started doing the press tour for Independence Day, and we were in London, and then we were in Italy and Venice and in Germany and everywhere we went. And he didn't go everywhere. But everywhere he went with us, whenever he'd pop up, I'd be like, Dad, and he'd look at me like, Jimmy.
That's awesome.
Bill Pullman was the same way. Even to this day, I could just say, Mr. President. And he looks at me and he goes, Jimmy. So you hear these crazy stories, but people make movies. But I got to say, when we were making Independence Day, everybody, Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, Judd Hirsch, Vivica Fox, Mary McDonald, Margaret Collins, everybody were class acts. They were so happy to be there, having such a good time playing pretend about aliens coming to Earth in the biggest sandbox you could ever dream of. So the base of Area 51, they built that life size where the Spruce Goose was built. So that's all. If you were to show up on that set, it took 10 minutes to walk from one side of it to the other. It was complete with elevators, a life-size ship from Area 51, the one that they still and they fly up into the mothership. All the real props that are life-size built in a hangar that they built the Spruce Goose airplane in. So the ceiling's 200 feet high. Yeah. Wow. The stages are, they're so immense, it's almost unfathomable.
Wow.
And,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was crazy to go from these little tiny indie movies it doesn't get bigger than that. These days, which they are budget-wise, the Marvel movies are bigger, but they're shooting a lot of those on green screen.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And which is fine.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because we were still shooting, you had the stuff of green screen, like, for instance, when the people look behind and the fireball is coming and they start running and the cars are crashing on each other.
Yeah.
We had a huge green screen, but the green screen was probably 50, like a movie screen, 50 feet high, 100 feet across. And then we had maybe a dozen cars with 50 extras there, and then we had cranes with cars hanging up above the screen that the cars on the cars in front of the green screen. So the scale of it was just so immense. So because you were limited by the technology, you couldn't do it all CGI back then.
Right.
There's a certain magic in that. You kind of see, unfortunately, I don't think the stories are quite there anymore, but with the newer Star Wars stuff, they've gone back to using practical sets and things large and whatnot. That's a great thing to see and experience, not just as an actor, but I think as an audience member, you can feel that.
Right.
Makes it more real.
That being said, I love Marvel movies, so don't get me wrong. I'm not a guy who's like, oh, I think they're getting it. Those movies are great. I feel like it's something that Sebastian Bach from Cheap Trick said when Independence Day came out. It was kind of a really huge hit. And Bill Maher had this big, he's still had his talk show then. So this whole thing of like, oh, forget Independence Day is no good. And Sebastian Bach from Cheap Trick's like, in the simplest way possible, just, hey, look, man, anyone who doesn't like that movie is a Scrooge, man.
Well, Bill Maher, he rags on even like Marvel, it's just like,
yeah. Well, he's good friends with Dean Devlin, so it was kind of like an entertainment thing. He called up Dean later and was like, hey, Dean, I didn't mean, I got a little carried away. Some of it is like, he's not nasty necessarily like that about everything, but it just happened to go that way. And Robert Loggia from the movie was there too, so it was just really funny to see Sebastian Bach call him out in like the most infantile way, and it resonate more than anything else. You're just a Scrooge, man. And everybody understood that. It's like, yeah, we're not saying this is Citizen Kane here. We're saying you go and have a great time, forget about everything, and then walk away feeling good. If you could feel, at the time it was like you could blow up the White House and still feel patriotic. It was, you do that.
Yeah, you couldn't do that now.
No, it's crazy. You'd be labeled some kind of radical or something. It's just insane.
They'd put you in an insane asylum.
Yeah, so it was nice to do those, be able to get away with things like that, purely in the sense of like, there's no statement. We're just making art here. We're just making entertainment.
Well, and that even like the president's speech and everything, even today, that is such a patriotic movie. It's just everybody watches it 4th of July. It's just an iconic movie.
Well, I think it's really great because I know at one time they took a lot of heat when they were in Germany, like, oh, they do this, like this German man made this movie. And he's like, yeah, I made a movie with the leads are a black guy and a Jewish guy. Like, huh? Like, how am I? See, that just made, I made Independence Day as this patriotic American movie, and also his intention was not just that, but, it was kind of like there is kind of a message in there, and it doesn't bang you over the head, but I think it's a great message that I can stand behind, similar to the Marvel movies about being good and goodness. And that's in the sense of like Independence Day becomes not just a holiday to be patriotic for America, but for everybody. It becomes an Independence Day for everybody against a universal threat. And it's like, maybe that's what it would take for us to get along and band together and find common ground. And that's the great thing. More than
as long as it wasn't meant to prep us for what's coming.
Yeah. I remember, almost embarrassingly so, I remember when I would do interviews at the beginning of that, they're like always asked, so you believe in aliens? And it was like, why not? And I have to say, in a way, even with all these things that have been seen in the sky, I don't know if I believe in them anymore. I just think that, I don't know what those things are, but I don't know if they're from outer space. That's just taking a serious turn. Only because I think I remember when I was doing Donnie Darko, I'd get on these scientific tangents with, Richard Kelly about what the movie meant. The whole idea of like, well, of course, Rich, there's an alternate dimension because they tore the fabric of space and time. And when you tear the fabric in space and time and you don't write it, of course, well, the whole thing's going to implode and then all the universes are gone, right? And I remember him just looking at me and goes, sure, Jimmy, whatever you said. It's like, there's the action going on again, making their crazy backstories.
So you've been blessed to play both sides of the spectrum. So Independence Day and a lot of independent movies, such as Tales from the Other Side, which
Tales
is,
from the Other Side's my newest movie that I have out right now. That movie, I got to say, it's a pleasant surprise actually, because, and I'll tell you, it's kind of a funny story. So it was directed by Lucas Hain, who directed this great movie Mope, about these guys who tried to make a pornography movie that played at Sundance, and it was co-directed by the director Kearns Sack from Sushi Girl, and I don't know if you know Sushi Girl.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crime thriller movie. Yeah, one of my favorite movies that I've done with all my favorite actors. And so
Courtney
we went
Palm's
to
amazing.
She's a power to contend with. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the way you did that. He's like, I'm
Right.
live. I got to think about how I say this.
yeah, power to contend with, certainly. You know, because you see, you know, without giving away for people who haven't seen Sushi Girl, it's chock loaded full of dangerous people, very dangerous people. And let's just say that the Sushi Girl might just very well be the most dangerous one of us all. And at least leave it at that.
I'll have to
Go watch Sushi Girl. I really like that
Well,
movie.
you should. And I mean, Courtney Palm, you know, not spoiler, but being the Sushi Girl, she's, you know, naked throughout most of the movie. They're like eating sushi off of her, and
I'm in.
yeah.
and poor James froze again.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie, though. I highly recommend it.
Well, we'll wait
Reason
for
my
him to pop
signal's
back
getting
in.
wonky.
There he is.
There he is.
Oh, there we go. You guys got me back?
Yep.
Yeah, so you know, it's
So-
great. You know, if you watch the extras of DVD or Blu-ray of it, there's this great, because she's naked through the whole movie. Let's just not beat around the bush, no pun intended. She's naked through the whole movie. So there's this great scene that we shot in the beginning, which is her reveal when she takes off the robe and you just see that she's nude. And they had made like this fake, it wasn't a penis, but it looked like a big fake dick, like 16 inches long. So they were doing take after take, and they did one take, and she just took it. And when they did the thing, like, okay, action, she let the robe go, and she turned around, it was just like, wonk, and just swung down. And it's like, ah! And if you watch the DVD, it's an extra blooper on there.
All right, now Jeff's going to order the DVD.
Yeah, you gotta love Courtney, because that was all Courtney. Courtney just did that. It's like having fun while we're filming, like, because it's a crazy dark film, as you know. So it was a really great experience. But needless to say, you know, so that director contacted me, and he had this project that him and Lucas were directing, a little short film called Either Or, which is the segment that appears in Tales from the Other Side. But nor him nor I or Lucas, we didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be part of an anthology film. I'm a big fan of anthology films. You know, I was lucky enough to be part of Tales of Halloween, and big fan of Trick or Treat and a lot of the other anthologies that have been coming out. And so when it was funny because they originally contacted me like, oh, we have these interviews for Tales from the Other Side. And I was like, when did I do something called Tales from the Other Side? And I was thinking, like, I know all the movies I made last year. I made First Circle. I made Filthy. I made Amityville Karen.
Yeah, but
I made Either Or, but I don't remember making. And then it hit me. Oh, Either Or, I bet, is a segment in an anthology. Yeah, it took me a minute to be like, I think you guys got the wrong actor, or somehow where I just don't remember this one movie in my entire career. I just don't remember making this. So I got panicked for a minute.
That reverts back.
I'm sorry?
I was going to say that reverts back to the opening of the show where he showed you the medical cannabis folks. He just didn't remember making it.
I mean, I'll have to pardon myself. I didn't set my alarm.
We do have the trailer for Tales from the Other Side. I'm going to play that. Just real quick for Courtney Palm. Have you seen Zombievers?
I have seen. I was one of the first people to see it. Since, you know, I was so proud of her when she did that, because I'm like, she's going to take that movie and she's going to rock it, and she did.
Yeah.
How could you not see a movie called that, Zombievers?
Well, that's what's so genius about it. And there is a movie called Zombievers, and it's great.
Yes,
it's
there is.
Very original. Very original. Like, did you ever see that movie Rubber?
Yes.
From
So
it's original like that. You're like, who ever thought of that? I never would have thought of that in a million years.
Well, here we go. Here's the trailer from Tales from the Other Side.
Well, that's been an uneventful evening.
No way. That's Scary Mary's house.
Who's Scary Mary?
She's the town's oldest secret. An old witch that never leaves her house.
hello, sweeties. Every story you've ever heard has its roots in the occult.
Do you know those kind of stories?
Oh, I know all kinds of stories.
Well now, what have we here?
Is poor old Mary truly Mary?
And Tales from the Other Side is out now, so definitely check it out.
Great, man.
I just want to know, did they let you keep the straitjacket?
No, I actually asked. Believe it or not, they had to rent. That was the real straitjacket they had to rent. It was sort of like, because like you get, as actors, we get excited. Some of us get eager and excited. So I remember being there, like, with the jacket. Oh, do me. Because there's no way you can tie yourself up in that thing. You just get in there like, do me, tie me.
All right, guys, this ain't fun anymore. Let me out.
Well, there was that thing of like, ow, my shoulder. You guys, my shoulders. Is it supposed to feel like that? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
we'll see you in an hour.
It's really cool to be a part of that and to see that we got, like I said, to become a part of this anthology, because I really love the the whole foundation of the woman telling the story, and so which brings in our tale, or the other tales, because when I didn't, like I said, I didn't know it was going to be part of an anthology, so for me it just kind of played like an episode of the Twilight Zone,
right,
which kind of in a way worked for exactly what we were doing. So it was a nice surprise to see that.
Right. They had great stories in it too. They were great little stories.
Yeah, I because I hadn't seen it, and someone finally sent it to me a couple weeks ago, and I was taken aback because, like I said, I just I didn't expect it. I just did it and kind of forgot about it.
Right.
And it's great. I mean, and then you're to be talking with you gentlemen about it, or to do press about it later on. That's where sort of what I was saying earlier. You have to try to forget about it. Yeah. So when it kind of comes back, you're like, oh. Looks like that worked.
Right. Well, I would say it definitely worked. I've watched it quite a few times for multiple reasons, of course, because I had to refresh myself having you on the show. We watched it when we had Vernon Wells on the show a few weeks back regarding the same thing.
I love Vernon Wells, huge fan of his.
He was a great guy. And I enjoyed it. So I'm going to say to everybody that's watching and listening, or any of the 200,000 people that watch this later, definitely go check that movie out. I mean, you will not be disappointed.
Well, what I like about like the anthologies and stuff is that it's like a 15-20 minute thing. Then you can take a fucking break.
That's what I like.
You know what I mean?
Right?
You can go take a pee without pause. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also the thing. That's what I liked about the original Twilight Zones. I mean, I like the newer ones too, but I don't think they hold a candle to the old ones in the sense that it takes too long to tell that story. Twilight Zone is a creepy thing. It should just open up, smacking you in the face, then smack you in the face, and then leave you after 20 minutes, and you're just kind of sitting there the whole time like, what just happened? Like I'm sure everybody here remembers it. So a perfect example is like the grandpa who's dying, and he's got to leave all his money to his kids, but they're just rotten kids. And so he makes them all wear masks reminiscent of their true personality while he wears death. And all they have to do is keep those masks on until midnight, and then they can take it off. And midnight strikes, and him with the death mask dies. So he takes the death mask off, but he's dead. Then they take all their masks off, and their faces have turned into the grotesque personalities that they really are. And they've got his money, but they're trapped like that forever.
Right.
Those are some of the best stories ever written.
Some of the best stories ever written. Like, I'm talking Tina, and I'm going to kill you. That's like free Chucky,
Right.
Chucky by
so many people went on to become stars out of all those too.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, yeah. Everyone. I mean, the who's who from Burgess Meredith to William Shatner to oh god, I always forget his name, but he's such a huge staple in all the old 40s and 50s movies. He's like the kind of bigger guy with the southern accent, and there's he's got a very specific name. I can't think of it right now, but his episode is where he always tells people these grandiose stories that of course are not true, and he ends up really getting kidnapped by space aliens, and then they drop him off and everybody actually sort of missed him because he disappears. And then when he comes back, he starts telling them, oh, and I got picked up by this flying saucer and these aliens, and they look like this. And everyone's like, we're just happy. They don't believe him at all at the end. Right. But he really got kidnapped in that episode.
I still watch those every New Year's.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been writing and working on a series that's based on the Twilight Zone. Since they've redone the Twilight Zone.
He went wonky.
Froze.
Yeah, he's having wonky issues with the internet tonight. So, yeah.
Well, he'll unfreeze in a minute.
Yeah, we'll give him a second.
So, but yeah, go check.
Oh,
out,
now
there he is.
There we go. You guys are back.
He's back.
I don't know what's going on. You know what it is? LA is what it is. Because I remember calling up AT&T when they're going, I'm having a lot of problems with my phone. I live in the city. Why do I always have one bar? She's like, where do you live? I'm like, Hollywood. And she's, well, honey, I hate to say this, but get used to this because that ain't never going to change. That's what she said to me verbatim. She's like, how many people are on AT&T and more people every day. It's like trying to flush an ocean through a straw.
Well, they need to make bigger straws. That's why you pay them all the money,
Yeah, I'm like, hey, why don't you use a water pipe like the rest of everyone else?
Right.
But, that's
somebody sitting in a room. Take a break. Give the signal to this dude. Take a break. Give the signal to that dude.
Well, my suggestion would be move out of Hollywood.
I'm looking at that actually. I've been actually looking at. I was about to leave and then the pandemic hit.
And
now all
you
the
got to find yourself a nice ranch in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I think to be honest, I'm probably going to move, which is still temporary. But after this, I'm going to move to a place called Redondo Beach. Mm-hmm. I'd live there, as a temporary move for now because I haven't figured out where to go past there. But one, it's outside of the city. But two, when we're 90 degrees, they're about 74, 73. So it's about 20, 25 degrees cooler than here, even though it's only about 15 miles away.
Yeah,
it's outside of the city, so you have everything you need, but you're still removed from it to some degree. That's the first temp move anyway. But the reason I'm doing that is only because, as everyone can see, all the prices are artificially inflated. So no matter where you're looking, it's not worth paying those prices.
Right.
And those prices, I guarantee, will be down in the next 6 months. So I'm just biding my time.
Yeah, actually, up here they've started to come down a little bit, and I hear Canada's really starting to see a crash as well. But
I think Canada for American citizens is a very difficult place to move into. With all the international traveling I've done, I can say that the nastiest customs people that I've ever dealt with are Canadians. They are not nice at the border at all. They never have been. They never have been. They tried to take. I was traveling with my Frank the Bunny mask from one show to another, and I brought it to England. And it wasn't a problem. And when I flew from England to Toronto, because the stand had like a stick or a pipe that the mask sat on, they took it and wouldn't let me keep. Like I couldn't even display my mask when I went to Canada because they took the stand away.
Oh, well, that's just being an asshole.
Yeah, they knew. They're like, I'm like, this is for my mask. I'm an actor. This is my movie. I'm going to promote a movie. I'm going to doing promotion. And they go, well, you're going to go promote it without this.
We've seen all your movies, Mr. Funny Man.
And we don't like
you. We don't like you, and you're not getting your stick back.
No.
It's like this.
So I wanted to ask you, because you're about Ben's age. So in about 10 or 15 years from now, you looking forward to being able to play the creepy old guy?
I am actually. I mean, I think I played a creepy older dude anyways recently, which was a lot of fun.
Because I think you'd be great at it. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty good creepy dude. creepy older dude. I mean, I think at this point I've earned the right. You know, if I put in those years, you should get something back in return.
Right. Right.
You know, like the tall man from Phantasm or something, you know.
Oh God, yeah. Scrim. Love that guy. God rest his soul. God rest his soul. Yeah, I mean, I'm
you can't be too old though, because you said it's the new 30s, right?
Well, yes. Well, then it will be the new 40s by then.
I'm already into my new 40s.
I'm just trying to figure one thing out. I mean, we literally.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
James and I are literally the exact same age. He's got me by about
1972.
Yeah, I was born on the 20.
Die, Ben. It's called.
Yeah,
Die.
I was gonna say, how the hell do you look so good? I mean, I know I'm married with kids, but
I think you see that I'm shaved, because if I don't shave, I look like
Ben.
Like me. Yeah,
maybe probably a little bit better than me, but I keep these people. I keep slipping their name just escapes me. He's like this big talk show.
It's okay because the show's about you.
Jon Stewart. Oh, I can't remember, but
maybe,
he had dark hair, and when they showed him with a beard, it was all silver.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now, but that's basically why I'm shaved, clean shaven. Because if I'm not, it's more than 50-50 salt in my beard. So when it's because when people see that, oh, you dye your hair, I'm like, I know, just it all is going here, and then it's slowly coming up like this. Slowly creeping. Thankfully the lighting's not so good, so it makes it look pretty solid black, but it's definitely salt and pepper on the sides here.
Yes. Did
I
you
was
see
going
that
to say,
comment from
mine
Pam?
all started here, salt and pepper, and just kind of migrated.
Oh, so it did, yeah. So mine started here, and it's going this way. And I think you can see like starting in my sideburns a little bit, but it all just started.
Mine started right here, and it just went like this.
Okay, yeah. So mine's doing the opposite. It's starting here, and it's going up. Like it's all by here too.
See, you never know where this show's going to go. You never know.
My wife tried that just for men for my hair, and it doesn't last long enough, you know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I've looked at it and I've thought about getting it, but I have not. I haven't used it yet. But I know that.
Well, that ponders a question: do redheads go gray?
I know
we go white.
Oh, you go white.
White.
You go white.
Like my beards is going white.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not clean shaven, so I'm pretty sure you can probably maybe not because of it. No, it's too bright, but you can see I have a lot of gray here. It's like 50% gray.
All right, so redheads don't get salt and pepper. Redheads get cinnamon and sugar.
Yeah,
that's it. Some people get all the
it's because we don't have any souls. There's nothing to like leak out.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. So that brings us to, I know Jeff has questions for you because he told me that he had some stuff he was interested in talking to you about. You've played, like I said, Hollywood, indie, but you've also had the pleasure of being in music videos.
Yeah. I'm in a music video right now that's kind of a short movie on Shudder.
Really?
Yeah, I
didn't even know that.
Well, I became friends with this band that I did a movie a few years back called Beast Mode with C. Thomas Howell. Okay. The producer has great taste in music, and he's always sending me new music. And he sent me this band called Boy Harsher, and I just attached to them right away. And it's sort of a strange thing. I was listening to them a lot. I was turning other filmmakers and people onto their music. And I remember at one point, and I not that I believe in this kind of weird stuff, but I kind of manifested it. I remember saying to a friend of mine, I'm like, I really love this band. I wish they would just contact me and ask me to be in their video, and I would do it. And then right after that, for some reason, I just went and bought a couple of their albums that I didn't have because I only had the one album that my friend turned me on to. And then all of a sudden on Twitter, they contacted me and go, we have this new album and we're making this video movie and we're huge fans if you wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, nice.
So literally after I kind of just said that, a week later, I got this message on Twitter. So I contacted them right away and I ended up getting involved with that band, Boy Harsher, on their new movie, which is also an album called The Runner, which is available on Shudder TV right now.
Oh, cool. You heard it here first, folks. But no, I actually was going way back because you were involved with 9 Inch Nails.
Nine Inch Nails. So that I did my first movie, and then I went up to the house that doesn't exist anymore to work with Trent Reznor, his producer Peter Christopherson, who he's working with at the time, for a video album for the second release called Broken, which was banned by the record company because it's pretty extreme. But I went up there and did, a lot of voiceovers for him for the course of an afternoon, which was quite an experience to be hanging out where they were recording some of the Downward Spiral, is one of the best and most famous, infamous albums. And it wasn't until the end of the day, because I was playing a guy who was getting his teeth pulled out and being skinned alive, having gasoline poured down his throat. He's just being tortured alive, basically. And then at the end of the day, they were just so, they just sort of, as a matter of fact, so Jimmy, how does it feel to be doing that in the house that the Tates murdered the Manson? I mean, the Manson murdered the Tates, and you're just sort of like, would you like to stay for dinner? It was like, look at the time. I wish I gotta go. Sorry, guys. So, I'm not gonna lie. I was 19. It was pretty creepy. It creeped me out. So I ran, basically. You need to come pick me up right now. And I've been kicking myself in the ass ever since, and to this day. Like, I should have just stayed. I would have probably become, because Trent was really such a personally nice guy. And Peter Christopherson, who's not alive anymore, but his producer was a really great guy too. He was friends with the first filmmaker I worked with, and I scuttled probably could have been a great relationship. Some of it was, a lot of it. I'm going to blame youth and insecurity and I was so kind of just starstruck to be around Trent Reznor. It's like I was kind of I didn't know what to say. As to where now, I'm certainly, I could be starstruck and I can overcome that, and I can have conversations. And I understand that they're just people that done something I admire. But I was just so young at the time, I couldn't break out of my shell. And that, I was a little creeped out by the. He recorded that with Manson's win, murdered Sharon Tate. You know what I mean? That whole thing, because he wanted to conjure this dark energy into the album.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a freaky movie too. Wolves at the Door that came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
you're a musician too, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple guitars and a bass there, and my 12-string right behind me. I play pretty much every day.
You play the piano as well, right? Or you used to?
Yeah, I got a keyboard right over there. So this is like wardrobe. It's like a recording, and it's like a bunch of wardrobe. Kind of see, so you can kind of see like there's all the wardrobe there. There's the bunny mask. Where is he? Behind the TV, there's the Frank.
Oh, there he is. Creeped out in the corner.
Boxes and scripts and books. So this is kind of just like a workroom, basically, that we use for acting and music and whatnot.
Right.
Nice. So, now, do you perform out at all, or is it more for?
I haven't in probably
yourself?
10 years, but I used to perform a lot. I played in a few different bands, and just to kind of, it was nice to be able to join in on a band, and then when people would come up and be like, "Hey, I'm just a guitar player. You got to talk to that guy." No responsibilities as an entertainer. Really like that. But
nice.
Yeah, I stopped playing out about 10 years ago. Just playing out in LA is a precarious thing anyway. There used to be these pretty good music scene where you could go to this bar, a couple bars, and there was live music every night. You didn't pay a cover to come in, and all the musicians talked to each other. We all played together, and somehow the support for music has just not. It's been lackluster here. So all those places that supported live music and whatnot, especially since the pandemic hit, they're gone.
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Although, I'm glad you said that, because tonight I'm actually going. One of the gentlemen I used to see play all the time, who's incredible, named Foster Timms, kind of a modern day Bob Dylan, Tom Waits-ish kind of guy. He's playing tonight, and there's a group of. I have another friend who I haven't hung out with since before the pandemic, and we're actually going to go down and watch his show tonight in a bar, free, no cover. So, kind of hoping for a little bit of the same energy that we missed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, and who knows? He might call one of us up, both of us up to do a song or two, which we will. We'll do that if he calls us up.
And in today's day and age, we'll see that on YouTube in about 3 days.
Yeah.
It'll be on TikTok tonight, though.
Yeah. I'm really kind of amazed. That's where I know, like, I am becoming that old guy, because I really can't keep up with that stuff. TikTok and
nope.
It's like yeah, I'm like, it's very bizarre to me, the whole thing. Because
I mean, I'm on TikTok, but I don't do anything with it other than to look at shit.
Yeah, I mean, the thing as an actor in the '90s was, especially after Independence Day, you get that speech, and it's like, all right, Jimmy, well, this is a big movie, and a lot of people are going to see this, so everyone's going to see you and look at you. You cannot fuck up. You can't be doing drugs. You can't be doing it because you will destroy your career. Everybody's watching you. You need to be responsible, and you need to be healthy, because if you're not, the whole world's going to watch you crumble. And it was sort of, that was a big wake-up call. It's like, he's right about that.
Right.
So since then, it was sort of like, well, I need to keep my personal life and my business life separate, and I need to keep my personal life private. So as to where I always kept on purpose, keeping your private life private, for social media to start being like, this is who I'm at, this is who I'm with, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm wearing, this is where I was, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. That's too much for me.
Right.
Not that it's a secret. If I know you, you'll know those things. But that's not for me to post on a bulletin board for the whole world to see.
The world don't give a shit. The world don't give a shit.
The world don't give a shit. And I don't want, I give a shit enough that I don't want anyone to just know that. You have to be my friend to know that. You have to earn that information. That's not just
that's why he didn't. That's why he didn't tell us where he was getting the pizza. We're not his friends yet.
That's okay. It's West Coast pizza anyway. So
that's true. You're not missing out on anything here.
But I am going to say, that line is probably one of my favorite lines from that movie, which was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Half that scene ended up getting ad-libbed. Like, people got to eat and that. Like, I made that up because they ad-libbed that stuff. It wasn't in there like that. It wasn't written that way. It's like they were all riffing on each other. So it was like,
it's perfect.
What's Gilligan doing? It's supposed to be like that's what it was. What's he doing? It's like he orders pizzas and there's no dialogue after that. And then it's like, then we just became the thing. It's like, so what's Gilligan over there? And I'm like, Gilligan, what? And it's like, he orders pizza. I'm like, what? Hey, we need to. Hey, people got to eat, right? You got to try to justify that. You're not going to make me look like an ass without a good reason to be an asshole. I'm only a dumbass because I got a good reason to be a dumbass. People got to eat.
Oh, crap. I mean, you've just done so many amazing things, so many amazing people, I'm
lucky. I'm really lucky to work with a lot of the people I work with. So Gone in 60 Seconds, for instance, the guy who plays my partner, Shy McBride, who also is the captain on. So when I went and did Hawaii 5-0 10 years later, Scotty Kahn, who's also, James Caan's son, who's also in that was in Hawaii 5-0. And Shy McBride is now the chief on Hawaii 5-0. So when I went to go visit them, it was literally a Gone in 60 Seconds reunion. But I can tell you that Shy McBride, for instance, we had something written in the script where there was no dialogue. It's when I drop off Shy's character and we're all at the racetrack and they got the laser cut keys and they're about to steal the cars. And then they get the call. It's a setup, walk away. And so there's no dialogue written. It just says, I could say there's a setup, walk away. And he's supposed to look around, hang up and walk away, but not Shy McBride. And this is where you learn what true great acting is. And this is just a small example of it. But so we're doing the scene and it was like, all right, it's and I'm off camera. I'm like, it's a setup, walk away. And Shy's at the door and he just goes like this. He goes, my wife's having a baby. This ain't my car.
Right.
And you're like, well, I never would have thought of that in a million. You're like, there's nothing written there. Guys, like, my wife's having a baby. This ain't my car. And he would always do something like that where you just didn't know, it wasn't scripted. You didn't know what you were going to get. And it's almost always magic because that's the stuff that is in the movie. Like when the guy tries to rob us after we steal the car and then he knocks the kid out. He's like, you need a role model. That stuff is written. Like, this is just ripping off that. And there's a great joy to be with top tier actors like that, to just go for it. So, I mean, one thing that I was really like, one of the funnest things I've done in my career that it's, you wouldn't know if I wouldn't have told you. So if you remember Gone in 6 Seconds, you remember that Robert Duvall has to make all these calls to try to get a lot of the old people back in the gang.
Yep.
And a lot of them have all these problems where they can't join us. But when we filmed it, of course, none of those people are there that day. So I ad-libbed all the phone conversations with Robert Duval that day. Like insulting,
Really?
pissing him off, like where he's like, "Oh, you goddamn it, you motherfucker, get my fucking hands on you." I mean, he knew and he loved it, but he loved that I started ripping and we just started playing with it. And we just went completely off page. And, it's to be doing something like that with Robert Duval, for me, that's what everything is all about. That's what it's all about. And when I tell you, when I really recall and look back and remember, not only is he one of my favorite people, and I've worked with some wonderful people, but he's definitely like one of the best I've ever worked with. And it's effortless for him. And he's a really incredible guy to work with, through and through, a hardworking professional. So when you saw so many actors on screen, when you're watching Gone in 60 Seconds, so you can imagine if the camera's sitting here, if any of us are standing in front of each other, we stack each other. You know what I mean? So if I'm here, let me see it. So if I'm here and then someone comes like this, they cover me. So you have to learn to stagger. Everyone has to be staggered like this so we can all appear on camera. And so we do a take, and then they're like, "Oh, so-and-so is stacking. You guys are stacking up." And then I remembered, one of the first things I ever learned in acting school when I was, 17, 18, is they teach you to find the lens. If the lens doesn't see you, if you don't see the lens, it doesn't see you. So in all those stacking scenes, you would just see people stack, and then you'd see me go. You'd see me find the camera. And you'd be like, do what Jimmy does. And so what I started to notice is that at the time, we'd do a shot, and then they would show playback so everyone could see where they were standing. And Bob Duval, kid, call me Bob, never watched the playbacks. So I went up to him, and you would always see me. He's always just sitting there working on his lines, and he knows it, but because maybe that 100th time or that 150th time, you discover something you didn't discover before. So you're just always working it. And that was eye-opening, a big learning experience for me that I carry with me today. To always play with, the material, that even if you know it, like play with over and over and over again, because you never know. Maybe you won't get something, but you'll still get a great performance out of it. Or maybe you'll get, Christopher Walken calls those happy accidents. And then you do something and never meant to do. Happy accidents.
Yeah. That's what my parents said I was.
Something else we all have in common.
But Ben, did they actually use the word happy?
No, it was just accident.
It was just accident. I think my parents were a bit disappointed. I was born, they flipped me over and like, "Oh, twins. Oh, wait, that is ass. Hold on." Twins. Oh, no, he's just got an ass face.
But it's made for acting, so we're good.
But it's a photogenic ass face.
Right. That's what it is.
So what are you working on right now?
Right now, let me get a little bit more light on this subject here. So I started making this movie last year called The First Circle. We haven't finished it because the pandemic surges have put us on because of the infections. So looking forward to getting back to that. But that's based on Dante's Inferno. It's about a group of people who don't know that they're trapped in hell, and the devil's, playing games with us. This one deals with. Each story deals with a separate sin, going through the 7 deadly sins. Okay. And in this one, I guess it's murder, but or greed. But we finished shooting out our stuff with Michael Madsen, and we still have to shoot some stuff with Mike Starr. I've shot most of my things. I think I have 2 or 3 days, but hopefully we get that out. This is a great little thriller horror movie where these kids are in hell. And we're not kids, but these people are in hell. You, as the audience, know it, but they do not.
I'd be interested to
watch what unfolds.
Nice.
It's pretty. I know that I have a meeting actually with the director and one of the actors after this, and so he sent some footage that I was supposed to send to the other actor, but he already changed the password. But I can tell you that the footage is incredible. I was quite
nice.
And I don't usually say that about my stuff. Like I say, I work on it and then I try not to think about it. Since we're getting back to it, I guess I have to think about it again. But The First Circle is looking pretty good. I'm really excited about it. we also have Chris Browning, plays my half older brother, and Natasha Henstrich, who plays my stepmom. And then beyond that, I think I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready in September to do a horror movie called The Inn, about this sort of drifter serial killer who's been moving around Florida, and I'm like this reporter who's been following him, tracking him. And in the story, he's been going to different inns and hotels and just murdering everybody. And so I'm trying to track him down and catch him. And let's just say that, when they say be careful what you wish for, very well just maybe that situation.
So what's your favorite genre?
That's a tough one. Over the years, it's when I started off, believe it or not, I like doing a lot of drama. But I love comedy. I love sci-fi. I love horror. I love thrillers. These days, when you look at movies like Shaun of the Dead, where it's a romantic zombie comedy, so they're taking the genres and starting to mix them up. And I find that I really do kind of enjoy mixing the genres too, because then I get the fun of all the worlds. Sometimes playing a straight drama can be taxing emotionally.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you can get.
It can be to watch them too.
Yeah, well, certainly, that's the great thing. It's it's good for a watch. It's good for a watch. Right. I'll take those feelings with me for a long time. I don't need to see that again.
Some of them aren't even good for a watch. Sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm referring to hours.
Sometimes you just you're just challenged. I'm challenging myself. So if I'm not working at something at the time, and and that's an important, distinction. It's like maybe I don't totally love the script and I don't exactly get it, but I'm not working in it. It's going to be my job as an actor to learn, to understand the script, to get that script, and to perform it to a degree that it plays for everybody else. And those are to
make it as good as you can make it.
Exactly. And that's what makes me a better actor. So when you do get something, this is Randy Quaid. So this is when I realized what Randy Quaid was telling me was true wisdom. Because you don't have a choice on some of the jobs you get. You choose to work or you don't work, unless you're Johnny Depp or, again, now that the case course is done, but I mean, you have to be in a certain position to be able to pick and choose those roles. So then it's like, well, you need to be able to get what role they're going to offer you. And like you said, be great at it. So you get offered more roles. Right. And then you get that role that you love. And then there's your chance to shine. Because if you worked really hard on the other ones, you're going to work hard on the one that you love. And so keeping that kind of idea in mind, or that practice, which is really what I learned Randy Quaid on Independence Day, is why I started doing different genres and crossing over. It was maybe I did a couple romantic leads. I haven't watched them because I'm a little embarrassed by it. I don't know if I love doing that, but at the same time, it was an interesting challenge, something to try to do. Like, I wonder what this is going to be like. I wonder how this is going to play out.
Yeah, stick with the horror. You're better at it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is my cup of tea. I'm sure other people watching it going, yeah, I don't know if this is Jimmy's cup of tea.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised. There's a ton of people watching. We're on 17 platforms right now. So,
hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. I mean, to be talking with you or to have anyone tune in on, honestly, I'm very, very, very taken back and surprised. Thinking about it, I did this movie called Stockholm, some years back, about Stockholm syndrome. Ended up being retitled The Abduction of Jennifer Grayson. Basically, I play a serial killer who kidnaps women, and if they don't fall in love with me, well, then they know what's coming.
Yep,
so you better
a
fall
plastic bag and duct tape.
No, what's interesting is, without spoiling the movie, I will say that after, I play this possessive, I kidnap women, is that I've had a few responses of like, oh, I really love that character you play. It kind of goes on that side of like, you guys, that's just like, whoa, these messages are, I've got to say I'm actually very flattered, but I'm a little taken back. Right. I didn't expect that. Does that mean you want me to kidnap you and keep you in my house? I don't know if I can cross that line.
So I know we've got about 10 minutes left before we have to let James go because Leo does have another show tonight.
I do. Before we do, I wanted to make sure that we brought up Nightshade.
I was just going to do that.
Nightshade. That's a movie I did recently that just came out in January that I'm really proud of. I play a supporting role of a police officer. I won't say much more than that, but it's basically a psychological thriller looking for supernatural serial killer, and it stars Lou Ferrigno Jr., Jay Britt, also has Dina Meyer, and oh god, he's such a
so
actor,
Dina
right?
Meyer from Starship Troopers, Jason Patrick from The
Jason
Losers.
Patrick, that who I like. I remember I never even spoke to him because I was so starstruck on set. It was just like, there's Jason Patrick. I like held the grips, set up the lighting for the rain scenes just so I could be on set when he was there to watch him work.
And also Tim Russ from Star Trek.
Tim Russ, yeah. So Tim Russ directed me in a movie a few years back called Junkie. And Tim Russ I loved him. I couldn't say the best, I couldn't say enough great things about him as a director and as an actor. To watch him walk onto the set of Nightshade and have this massive scene where he just walks in, and because he's been doing this for a long time, so he comes in a scene that most actors would find quite daunting. He basically takes control of the entire room and nails it out in 3 or 4 scenes, giving everyone a big lesson on how to make and shoot movies for the afternoon. It was really quite impressive to watch for a formidable crew. To be quite honest,
and that's out now. You said, right?
That's out now.
That movie's out now.
And then I have a few other movies that came out right after. So one that I star in that's out right now that we just won best what the fuck movie is this even of the year award from Film Threat, which I'm very proud of. It's the original movie of the year. It's called I Challenger, and I play this sort of 40-year-old gamer stoner who is looking for direction and luck in his life. So until he finds out he's selling weed to underage kids who can't get it from the dispensaries, and so stars a wonderful Coy Stewart, Margaret Cho, Jerry Bednob, and Tina Majorino. And let's just say that they help me discover the best way to find my luck, which for some reason I believe is by burying myself underground for 24 hours and live streaming it. And let's just say that I do bury myself underground for 24 hours. I do live stream it, but it does not go the way I expected. And we'll just leave it at that.
Nice.
Now, so for all you people, they'll really love it because you're going to freak out.
Yeah, Ben, you're muted.
And then, and then I have Martin Landau. One of his last movies before he passed away is a movie called Without Ward. And I actually play, if you can believe it or not, I play a 60-year-old father. But because set in the future, I'm on this great health plan, so I actually look like I'm 30, 35.
Oh, you want to hook me up with that?
Yeah. It's a drug that Martin Landau created called I can't even remember the name of the drug now. But quite an interesting movie in the sense set in the near future. When we introduce our characters, it's 2 years into a house arrest where half the world's population has been put into quarantine. And we're cut into them dealing with the quarantine and what's it going to take for people to get out of this quarantine. What's the quarantine doing to these people? And that's that sci-fi weird fantasy without Ward.
Right.
So I've been fortunate enough to kind of just keep busy. And and I guess I have this other kind of like horror comedy movie we did called Amityville Karen. And
Amityville. I just love that name, Amityville Karen.
Yeah.
Come on, Karen.
Yeah, how can I say no to that? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I gotta have to take a look. It's out of curiosity. Oh, they're paying my rate. Okay, there I am. I am definitely a whore. I am a proud whore.
Wow.
At this point, I mean, as an actor doing the crazy things I've done and living in this business, it's almost like I've got no shame. It's like I told the casting director, like, look, they're like, so what kind of type are you? Like, you're a heroic type, or are you the dirty type? I'm like the STD type, when you got rid of me, you realize I'm back and you got me for life, like luggage. I'm not going anywhere. So if you don't give me a job now, just know that I'm growing right outside of your office, and you're never going to get rid of me. So, for lack of a better phrase, I lost jobs, honestly, saying that a few times. But I have no shame. I'm not, and I'm just being honest.
Well, you know the
best way to be.
Yeah. You know your worth. You know what you can do.
Yeah. No harm, no foul. I'm a happy, easy-go-lucky guy.
During the show, we had a ton of comments coming in, but there was only one question, shockingly. Pops wanted to know, do you like comic books?
I love comic books. What's strange is
because
Pops. From the age of Star Wars, when we were kids, it was the Star Wars comic books that got me into comics. Going up to the store, like, oh, they don't have Star Wars comic books. Oh, but here's Spider-Man. Oh, here's the Avengers. Here's Incredible Hulk. Wow, it's only, now I'm going to age myself. It's only 25 cents. You know what I mean?
Right?
Only 10 cents, How could you not buy a gumball?
Yep.
I could buy 2 candy bars for 50 cents and buy 5 comic books. And that's $1. Yeah. Right. And so that was, it's just not like that anymore. Obviously.
No. Now it's $20 for a comic book and 3 candy bars.
Yeah. $20 for 3 candy bars.
And those aren't even the king size.
2 candy bars if you're at the movie theater.
Right.
Is there anything you stay up to date on, or is you just like reading the old stuff, or?
I don't know if I'm. It's hard to kind of keep up to date on stuff for me. Sometimes I think, because by the time, like I say, I take work whenever I get it. So I just have to finish shooting another movie 2 weeks ago. So for the month that I'm not shooting, I just lose touch of everything, and it's always sort of come back and play catch up.
We'll have to send you a good stoner comic.
Oh, did he freeze up on us again?
Well, you become kind of you act the idea of like it's the same thing. So especially living in Los Angeles for 2 months, and I come back, the friends that I had and the places that they used to go and do in 2 months might not be the same 6 days later. It goes through this architectural society communal facelift every couple of months here in Hollywood. It's always been very bizarre like that. As to where I'm a creature of habit. To some degree, it's like one of the bars that I used to go to. The only reason I haven't not going is because it closed down during the pandemic. But otherwise, I've been going there since the 90s on and off. Just a creature of habit. I like that nice hole in the wall. It's not crowded. I can get a cheap drink. I can enjoy a drink in peace, or I can have conversations with my friends, and it's not crazy, and it's not, I think overwhelming would be the word, because going out in Hollywood very quickly.
Right. So is there any
weekend warriors?
Any last questions from you two clowns?
I got one. What is Hatha Yoga?
Hatha Yoga is that's a good question. So yoga has a bunch of different types of forms of practice. Believe it or not, the definition of yoga is just to join together. It means so if you were washing the dishes and thinking, I'm picking up this dish with the right hand and I'm washing it with the left and I'm rolling my shoulders back so one's not going more than the other. So what you're thinking about doing physically is yoga. But it's by combining your physical, like what you're moving and what you're thinking. Hatha Yoga just means balance of opposite. So what you're doing is if you do something on the left side, do it on the right side. If you're going to work out on the upper body, work out on the lower body. It's like to keep the body in balance. So especially, I hate to say, especially, so for us when we start getting older, those things like sitting up straight, not leaning on the side makes
like I just did through the whole show.
Like I've been lounging here,
but I'm sure that you gentlemen know what I'm talking about. And so it's become something where you're very conscious, because it happened probably in my late 20s and early 30s that my back got so bad that I was debilitated from working, auditioning, probably for a good 6 or 9 months. And then, and I went to this chiropractor and it wasn't really helping. And I switched chiropractors. And this other chiropractor started doing acupuncture and giving me the stretches. And she's the one who actually started getting me to go to yoga. And when I went, I hated it. Like the one I did, it's not hot, but it's it's like handstands and push-ups. So the first time I did it, I threw up afterwards. I'm not kidding. And I was like, that's fucking horrible. I'll never do that. And that felt like someone just kicked the shit out of me, then pissed all over me, and then kicked me overboard. And that's exactly how I felt after my first yoga class. I'm not going to lie. But after that, and I couldn't do half of it. For some reason, I kept going back, and within a few months, I could do the whole class. Then within 6 months, I was in the best shape of my life. And then within a year, I was pushing into handstand, and I was in better shape than I ever thought I could ever be.
Wow.
And so I naturally continued it. But it was really...
I was curious, I mean, because I tried yoga once, pinched a nerve in my neck, and I was no good for 6 months.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's a lot of different types of yoga. There's more than half I wouldn't recommend myself, but I try not to be like, oh, this is good and that's not good, because it depends on the person. Yeah, and I'll say before I went to that yoga now that I still go to now, I went to other places and the same thing. I went and did it, and I was like, I'll never do that again, and I didn't do it. And it was because I was so debilitated, and the chiropractor was like, you need to do this. I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do if it gets rid of this. And it helped.
Nice. Okay. Good to know.
It was
because I did it once and I've never done it again.
Yeah, it might have been the type that you did, but like I said,
obviously it was the wrong type.
Yeah, like I said, the type that I did, I threw up, and it was brutal. It was brutal. But for some reason, I kept going back, and then it became so beneficial that I became a teacher after a couple of years. So this is back in 2000. So I started teaching in 2002. I can't do it now because I'm too busy. I just practiced. I was doing a class yesterday, so I still do it.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you. I wanted to ask that because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Leo, you got any last questions for our awesome guest before we close this show out?
Well, last thing, I like to ask everybody is, I know we mentioned comics, but what do you dork out about? Like, are you a gamer? You said you like the Marvel movies. What is there something that you dork out about? Like,
I dork out about pretty much everything. It depends on what it is at the time. Like right now, I'm not gonna lie, I've been sort of dorking out on the fact that all these shows that I'm loving are coming out at the same time, like The Boys, Stranger Things. God, I know I'm missing a couple others right now, but there's a couple shows that I was just so hooked on and so geeked out over that, it's the kind of thing where you watch it over and over and you're inspired and you reenact it. And things that made me want to become an actor when we used to reenact Breakfast Club.
Very cool. Very cool. You mentioned
Dubage.
I mean, you mentioned Stranger Things. Have you caught up on the new episodes?
Oh yeah. That was just, I know some people were like, "Oh, it was long." It was no, it was freaking great. I geeked out hard. Like I can't believe how hard I geeked out on it.
So we're gonna let
Boys. I don't know if you guys watched The Boys or finished The Boys.
The Boys is amazing. Oh my god, that was so good.
No.
Like you, I don't have time to.
Oh, they just crossed so many lines. You can't believe they're showing that on television.
Oh yeah.
Great. Now I have to watch it.
I can't believe I just watched this on TV.
Oh my god. Friggin' Hero-gasm.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is Hero-gasm. Woo!
It's
we must be missing something. I haven't seen.
Oh my god! It's a whole mess of like D-list superheroes.
Superhero
orgy. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what happens. Like, they got to have fun too. It's like my friend said. My friend were in a bar, and my friend had like piercings. This is in the early '90s and long dress. And this girl's like, "You're creepy," and he looks at her and smiles. Like, "Hey, creepy things need loving too." Who can argue with that? I can't argue with that. That became sort of my mantra. Hey, creepy things need loving. You're creepy in that. Creepy things need loving too. It's only fair. Right? I don't know why we're so creepy. Maybe if you gave us a little bit more love, we'd be a little less creepy.
Right? Perfect point right there, folks. That's a perfect point right there. Oh man!
Nice. Gosh, I wish I could stay long. I could stay on this call with you gentlemen forever.
Right?
we will wrap things up. So I want to make sure everybody knows Houston Horror Film Festival going on July 22nd through the 24th. You can find James there. He's going to be doing a photo op in costume. A lot of awesome people are going to be there. But just Google Houston Horror Film Festival. And so for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which. But I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got about 40 shows on the network. Ton of awesome people doing a ton of awesome stuff. Head on over to thedorkening.com for all the latest shows there. And James, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
I promise I will get better on it. I'm on Instagram under Real James Duval, and I've been really bad at returning messages. I'll be honest, part of that is because you guys are so sweet and you say such nice things, and I don't know how to respond sometimes, and it's overwhelming. But you can reach you. That is me, and you can find me on Instagram under Real James Duval and on Twitter under Real James Duval, although I use Instagram more. And I promise that all these projects that I'm telling everybody about, I will post about in the coming days.
Awesome.
I should say that I have a friend here who wanted to say hello to everybody before we all go. So everyone say hi to my just me and my shadow back here.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That's awesome.
He wants to send his best to everybody out there.
Perfect. And I have all the links for James in the show notes up above or down below if you missed it. Jeffrey.
That was great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I had a ball. That was so much fun. As far as us, just go to stilltoking.com. You'll find everything you need to know. All our Facebook, Instagram, and all our social media links are right there as well. That way I don't have to fucking remember them.
It's because you can't.
I can't. I'm the old dude. I can't remember that kind of shit. I can remember Still Toking.
Yeah.
Just put .com.
I don't even know, Leo. I don't even know. So no, I want to thank James for coming out, hanging out with us tonight. Just James, stick around for 2 seconds when he closes out the show, real quick. And to all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.
Bye.
So come on.